For this episode of People of the Past, we're going to turn once more to Wonderful London, published in the 1920s, and we're going to focus on a chapter titled The Fun of the Streets. One needs to be no more than mildly middle-aged to remember a time when the London streets were a moving panorama of joyous delights, replete with all manner of free entertainments. There were acrobats known as tumblers, conjurers, German bands performing bears and dogs and birds. There were strongmen, glass and sword swallowers, men tied up in ropes and hung in fetters, from which they freed themselves with truly marvellous ease so soon as a fair sum of money had been subscribed by the audience. There were, besides of course Punch and Judy, tiny marionettes which danced fantastically on a kind of green baize table. The photographs that accompanied the article showed some of these street entertainments, and it has to be said, in some cases, the writer evidently was not that impressed. Concertinas can be played well by skilled hands. The caption accompanying the first photograph began, but an organ depends on maker rather than player. At one time, the Italian organ grinder, with his monkey in fez and jacket, was a familiar sight. He is gone today, but this patriarch carries on the tradition without simian aid. Some street musicians make their appeal by the sweetness of the strains they produce. Some, one would think, by blackmail. Till enough has been subscribed, O public, endure us. Nor would Pharaoh have hardened his heart before an ill-played concertina. Curbside hawkers are to be found wherever shoppers congregate, but Holborn at Christmas time is a favourite pitch of theirs. With their nodding dolls and acrobat toys, mechanisms that never appear to function so deftly after purchase, they are often a greater joy to children than all the expensively garnished shop windows on the other side of the pavement. The gramophone, charioted in a perambulator, seems the last and most sordid victory of the age of science. Even a barrel organ, they say, needs some skill in the grinding. We're next treated to two types of entertainer, weirdly garbed Houdini of the pit queue and a wandering harpist. Not long ago, begins the accompanying caption, it seemed as if the street entertainers of the old type, reminiscent of Bartholomew Fair, were to suffer extinction. But the institution of the theatre queue has provided an excuse for their survival. Around the pit doors will yield an amazing collection, from old actors reciting passages out of Hamlet to jugglers, acrobats, and swallowers of indigestible objects, whose clothes are the most astonishing thing about them. This fellow offers to free himself from his bonds if sufficient inducement is forthcoming. One wonders what will happen if it is not. On his left, accompanied by a violin, is the most melodious of all the street musicians. The strains of the itinerant harpist come through the din of traffic like distant echoes of Tara or Callion. We are next presented with two images that have the title, Music hath charms, gaiety forced and natural in the highways. Much of the fun of London's streets is fun only to the thoroughfares or to the literal mind of a child, and tragedy is seldom far away. The German bands which disappeared with the Great War have been replaced by ex-soldiers and unemployed, and though statistics are urgently needed, giving the percentage of genuine cases, it is only too certain that in the main the picture is a true one. But no such arrière-pensée attaches to the sight, in these days a rare one, of children dancing carefree to such music as the streets provide. The final two photos in the chapter are referred to as the best that London has to offer on Guy Fawkes Day and a Punch and Judy show at Putney. On all counts, one is forced to the sad conclusion that there is less spontaneous fun about the streets and byways than in the old times of harsher contrasts and harder living. Neither of the two scenes illustrated above is a dead letter, but how both in their own way have degenerated. Guys in undiminished numbers are still seen on the much-remembered 5th of November, but the exuberance of inventive genius is gone, and the motive is importunately mercenary. Punch and Judy too still survive, as the show on the towing path at Putney proves, but in such scarcity as might lead one to suppose that the quarrelsome pair had composed their differences and retired. As a matter of fact, they have found the South Coast air more bracing.